o'clock in the morning, and for the longest time I've been wanting to do this video of how to swap out the camera on the Mavic 2. Recently we've been flying the Mavic 2 with the Mavic 2 zoom lens. Originally, when we bought the Mavic 2, we actually bought the Mavic 2 Pro, and later on we just purchased the Mavic zoom camera and did the install ourselves. So today we're going to take the zoom camera out and put the original 1-inch sensor Mavic 2 Pro camera on there. So stick around. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to take out the battery. You don't want anything accidentally starting up on you. And I have this little plastic tool here that I use. There's a little ribbon cable that you have to gently take off, you'll see. So this comes in handy. And I actually purchased a special screwdriver just for changing out this camera. It's my eyes aren't that great. It's 263 1.5 by 50. I think it's like a little hexagon. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and see if we can zoom it in close. And I got this off of Amazon. So this is the screwdriver that you will need to remove the screws. And there's 6 screws here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down inside here 5, and down inside there 6. So let's get started here. So I'm actually going to start at the top here. And I've laid down a towel here because you don't want to lose these screws. And being white, it's going to be easier to see these screws. They're very, very tiny. Sorry, I think I mentioned these screws, but I don't think it's these screws. I think there's 2 other screws down inside. So now this here front part should, if you just pull forward a little bit, it's very tricky to pull off. Kind of pull it forward. Let's see. Yeah. This is okay. Very very tricky to get this one off. Okay, now let's see. Okay, I think it's these two screws here and these front screws. So let's do the front screws. I'm hoping you can see that. And then there's another one on the other side. I probably should have worn my glasses. It's these screws are so tiny. Okay, now let's see if we can. Okay, let's see if we can get this out. You have to be ever so careful taking this out. And here we have the ribbon cable. And I don't know if you can see that in there. I'm just going to gently pop that up. That fits in here. Okay, and there's the zoom camera. Now we want to get these tiny screws that are still in there. We want to get these out. So we'll just pop those out of there. see how very, very tiny these screws are. It's very tedious here. Okay, I'm going to try and push this out. You might need a needle. You might need a little needle just to poke those little tiny screws out. Okay, so there's our zoom camera. Now we're going to keep it in this bubble wrap bag to protect it. So we'll just put that aside. And here is the Mavic 2 Pro camera that originally came with this. So what we're going to do is let's see how we're going to do this. Now, okay, how are we going to do this? You definitely want to get that attached properly. Very, very tedious here. Now, getting that ribbon cable on is very, very important. You have to be very gentle and make sure that she's definitely fully connected. Okay, now this should set down in there like that. Okay, and push that in. Everything is sitting properly. Okay, we're going to put these two screws back in. And want to make sure they're not over tightened, but definitely snug. Okay, and let's get this other screw in there. Okay. It's a little bit tedious to do this, but it was a hell of a lot cheaper buying the additional camera for the Mavic 2 Pro than to actually purchase a Mavic 2 Zoom and a Mavic 2 Pro. So that was my reasoning behind this. Okay, now we put the front screws in. These screws are so tiny. Okay, we're going to turn the drone a little bit. I know it's probably hard to see this, but we're doing our best to show you here. And then when we're done, we're going to fire it up. Just make sure everything is connected properly and that the software and everything is recognized, because the Mavic 2 Zoom in the Go app, you only have your ISO and your shutter speed in there. With the Mavic 2 Pro camera, in the app you're going to have ISO, you're going to have aperture settings, and you're going to have shutter speed. So we definitely want to open up the app, make sure all of that is proper, to make sure the Pro camera is set up properly. Okay, now for this little piece, this is tricky too. We're gonna slide this in here, and this piece is tricky because you want to push it forward and have it lock in place. You can see, you just bring your fingers, make sure everything is locked in place. Okay, and that it's a nice fit. Okay, now let's see if the screws line up. Doesn't look like we're in there properly. like I said, you definitely want to make sure these screws, when you put them back in, that everything is really firm. You don't want the vibration of the drone shaking any of these screws out and losing them or somehow damaging your camera. Okay, so there you have it, the Mavic 2 Pro camera, and we're going to take her out for a flight today too, just test her out. And we have an ND16 filter on here. It's really sunny today, so hopefully we'll get some great footage today up at the mountain, and hopefully that'll be our next video to post after this. So
a million people in the crowd, but I only see your face in all the lights.